Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Holding the powerful accountable from Washington, D.C. to right here in southern New England. This is 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti.
Good morning. I'm Gene Valicenti. This is 10 News Conference. Let's begin with the Republican running for Senate against Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts. John Deaton joins me. John, welcome in. You lived in Swansea for a while.
I did.
And but now you're in Bolton.
I'm in Bolton.
A more rural setting. But you're familiar with the South Coast and everything we do here.
Of course, absolutely. And thank you for having me, Gene.
Welcome in. You have to give people a reason to kick an incumbent out. Elizabeth Warren's still pretty popular. What's the primary reason that they ought to give her the boot and put you in place?
Because we clearly have a broken system, and she's part of that broken system. You know, at 12 years, she's passed one bill as primary sponsor. Anyone else gets fired with that kind of record or lack thereof. But when you look at all the crisis we face, Gene, whether it's immigration, whether it's inflation, cost of living, opioid addiction, foreign wars, greatest crisis we face is a crisis of leadership in Washington, D.C. People like Senator Warren and Republican leadership as well, they sit back, they fuel division so that they can stay in power. We need someone who just wants to go do the job, not keep the job.
But what is it that message hasn't come across in Massachusetts? Elizabeth Warren's very popular. Well, you know you have a heavy lift here.
No. Listen, I tell everyone there's not the widest path to victory, but there's a narrow uphill path to victory, and I believe I'm on it. But yes, going against an incumbent is difficult. But Elizabeth Warren hasn't been challenged by a candidate like me, who is a nonpartisan person who's only loyal to Massachusetts and America, not an agenda, not a party, and not a person. That's a big difference.
You're running as a Republican, correct?
I'm running as a Republican.
So how is that nonpartisan?
Well, it's nonpartisan in the fact that I've been a Democrat in my life. I've been a registered independent in my life, and I'm a nonpartisan person, which means that I served in the Marine Corps. I took an oath to this country, and we've got to put country and state above party. Senator Warren's loyal to the Democratic Party first, an agenda, and her own ambitions, and I'm not. I'm loyal to Massachusetts and America. You know, for example, whoever wins the presidency, I'm going to do the job no matter what. Doesn't matter to me who wins. If it's good for Mass and America, it's good. And it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat proposal or Republican. That's something we haven't had in Washington, D.C.
Why not run as an independent then?
Well,
why take on the mantle of Republicans and everything that comes with it? I'm going to ask you, you support Donald Trump? Go ahead, answer the first part. Why not run as an independent?
Well, because we unfortunately live in a two-party system. And in order to be successful, you got to be part of one of those parties. And also, I want to show an alternative. You asked about President Trump, and I've been on record to not support President Trump. I want to show people that we can have someone have a real independent voice in the U.S. Senate. And in a tight Senate race, if it's 50-50, that's a reason to vote for me, because I'll give Massachusetts a real voice. And if President Trump wins, I'll work with him if it's good for Mass and America. If Vice President Harris wins, I'll work for her if it's good. Senator Warren won't say that. She'll only work for Vice President Harris. We need someone who puts state and country first.
So you're not endorsing Donald Trump?
No.
No. And would you welcome his support?
I'm not asking for it. I'm only asking for the support of the voters.
Okay. Elizabeth Warren, you've accused her of being in the tank with the Democrats, goes along with everything. That appears to be what Massachusetts voters want. What is the specific reason that you could give me to turn her out? She's very popular with economics, Wall Street reform. She gets beaten up by the conservatives all the time. Doesn't seem to bother her. She seems to carry the torch for the Democrats in Massachusetts.
Well, here in Massachusetts, the voters are actually 64% are unenrolled. They're independent voters, the highest in the country. And the issues that we face today didn't face 6 years ago. You know, the migrant crisis, cost of living, things that are really impacting regular people. And Senator Warren 12 years ago, she's what's wrong with Washington, D.C. She's a prime example. 12 years ago, she was going to go hold the bankers accountable. Yep. A decade later, those same bankers write her bills, fund her campaigns. They don't want someone like me in office. They want someone like her.
let's do a lightning round. We'll go
Sure.
bang all the issues out, and if you can, we'll just go one after another.
Sure.
All right, inflation. It's too high. What would you do to lower it?
Well, we got to get spending under control. They've printed 80% of all U.S. dollars in the last 4 years, right? In January 2020, there were $4 trillion U.S. dollars in existence. Today, there's 20 trillion. You can't debase your currency to that extent and not incur high inflation. So we've got to get spending under control.
Okay, what caused inflation to begin with? What's the root cause? Well, I understand your economic point of view. In your view, why do we have such high inflation?
The printing of money. I just explained it. Like when we're at a 1.9 trillion deficit each year, and the way the government fills the gaps is to print more dollars. The more money you print, the less valuable it becomes. It's pure economics 101.
Did too much money go out during the COVID crisis? Some economists say we overheated the economy giving so much money away. Is that the same as too much spending, or are you differentiating between what we gave out and what the government spends?
Well, certainly under the COVID, under the last two administrations, we're talking about $8 trillion. That is just a staggering number. And so, yes, we've got to get it under control. You know, if we cut all discretionary spending and only did mandatory spending, we're still at a deficit. So regular people are being priced out of the economy. We've got to get it under control. And it's unfortunate that these politicians, they never talk about balancing a budget anymore. It's a topic that never gets talked about. I want to talk about it.
All right, how about fixing the border? Your ideas?
Absolutely. First of all, you have to secure the border. You have to expand legal immigration and have a zero tolerance for illegal immigration. I went to the border. I learned that it's 12 million when you count getaways. So even if the migrants, I believe 99% of them are good people who want a better life, I can identify with that. Well, 1% is 120,000 potential bad guys. And so it's a national security crisis, but it's also a humanitarian crisis because the migrants have been given false hope. They're giving court dates out of 2032 and 2033 right now for migrants. That's an unsustainable system. So we've got to secure the border. Elizabeth Warren was against the immigration reform bill. I would have voted for it. She even objects to President Biden's $2,500 per day cap. She's someone who's abandoned this state when it comes to the migrant crisis.
Let's go to the war in Ukraine. How would you end that? Well, and does Ukraine deserve to win that?
Well, of course they deserve to win it, but you want to know something? I'm running for U.S. Senate, and I can't tell you what the United States policy is when it comes to Ukraine. Are there peace talks being discussed? Is there money? Where's the money? Are they just going to come back every 6 months and ask for 40 more billion? We've got to have transparency in our government. So if I'm in the Senate, I'll support Ukraine, but I first want transparency, and I want to know where is the path to peace. We have to have some kind of path to peace.
So you would allow for more spending to help Ukraine defend itself against Russia. You know, just as you and I are speaking, President Putin has threatened nuclear war if we okay the authorization of long-range missiles into Moscow. If we let the Ukrainians fire those missiles, that's the quote.
Well, that you're actually hitting right. What I'm getting at is the point is what's the strategy? President Biden said that we wouldn't allow weapons to hit the interior part of Russia, and now we are going to allow our weaponry that's built here to hit the inside of Russia. That is scary. So I would only support it if I knew that there was a path to peace. So what I'm saying, my support is contingent on a real strategy to peace. What is the plan? And we don't have one. Hasn't been articulated.
Right. Do you believe with the root that we need to let Ukraine keep fighting because if he gets Ukraine, he'll go after Poland and other NATO countries? Do you agree with that thinking? That's by the way, that's Republican and Democrat thinking now.
I mean, not necessarily. The question is there's not even discussion of peace talks. You know, we at one point said that we would never allow Ukraine to be in NATO, and now we are. And so, according to Vladimir Putin, right, that's why he's doing it, and he has no intentions to go into Poland. The bottom line is, I believe that the Russian aggression should be met, but we've got to have a plan, and there isn't any plan being articulated.
All right, let's move to another hot spot, Gaza.
Yep.
Do you support Israel's war against Hezbollah, particularly in Gaza?
I support Israel's right to defend itself, hard stop. Hamas, part of their charter is the complete death and destruction of every Jew in Israel. It's difficult to make peace with an entity that swears that it's going to kill you every chance that it gets. And so I do support Israel. And of course, someone who has been trained, at the Naval War College, I used to teach generals and admirals on the rules of engagement. Of course, we need to make sure that we minimize the death of non-combatants and civilians.
But you would encourage an aggressive posture on Israel's part to finish the job?
You have to finish with the elimination of Hamas. Okay. That's what I support. We must eliminate Hamas. And here's another thing. We can't put the cart before the horse. You can't say, well, let's have a ceasefire and then we'll talk about releasing the hostages. No, the proper strategy is release the hostages, including American hostages, and then we can talk peace.
All right, let's talk some more practical things with the voters in Massachusetts. A senator has to bring back the bacon. It's a lot easier for an incumbent Democrat who's been there for a long time to bring back the bacon, the grants, the money for the fire departments, and on and on. Why would I swap her out with you, a freshman senator? You got to get your sea legs. You got to build up your clout. Meantime, the money's not coming in. So go ahead.
Because the money's not coming in right now. Senator Warren, when Governor Baker was the Republican governor, he was trying to get money for the Cape Cod bridges. Mm-hmm. Senator Warren is absent. Those are federally owned. Why wasn't she trying to really secure that? She fought for the infrastructure bill that had $110 billion for bridges across the United States. Not a dollar went to those Cape Cod bridges. Senator Warren has abandoned Massachusetts. And so I can tell you that she's not bringing home the bacon now. Send someone here who will fight for Massachusetts. And if there's a close Senate, I'll give Massachusetts a real voice in the Senate. And if President Trump wins, I can work with President Trump. If Vice President Harris wins, I can work with Vice President Harris. In a split Senate, I'll be the deciding vote, and I guarantee you if it's not good for Massachusetts, I won't support it.
Just about 30 seconds left. You are an attorney.
I am.
You're also a bit of a farmer, you were telling me? You live in rural Bolton.
I do. I have a couple pigs. I got 12 chickens, and I'm getting a goat real soon.
And you have 3 daughters.
I have 3 daughters, Olivia, Jordan, and Layla, 24, 22, and 5. My 5-year-old just started kindergarten, Gene.
And have any of them said, Dad, don't get involved in politics? There's enough stuff to clean up on the farm.
My two oldest daughters said, Dad, we don't want you to do this because they might lie about you. And I literally said, Senator Warren's a grandmother. She won't lie about me. And my daughters were right. Senator Warren's out there calling me a MAGA extremist on someone who doesn't support women's reproductive rights. And that nothing could be further from the truth. I've actually challenged Senator Warren to debate me on women's rights, and she refuses to do so because I will be a real advocate for women. I will advocate for my daughters.
Well, just expand upon that. I'll give you another 20 seconds. You support a woman's right to choose.
Absolutely. Support a woman's right to choose. I actually spoke out against the Dobbs decision. I spoke out on the IVF Alabama ruling even before Senator Warren did. And so I'm a strong advocate for women's rights and women's reproductive rights.
Good luck on the campaign trail. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
All right.